Just to highlight that, here's a map of two different scenarios. The green stars are communities that within the last 5 years have done exactly what we're doing, from Phoenix to Charlotte, the home of the current transit, US DOT transit secretary, have all implemented projects with a letter of no prejudice and started construction before they received their grant agreement. In the same bill that we're in this year, FY17 President's Budget, all these silver stars, those are projects that are already either constructed and some of them are already in operation and have not yet received their grant funds. Those communities have taken that and moved forward with those projects. And why this is not unique even to just federal monies. Every state grant that we have, and that could be Westgate Community Center, which this language is from, to our North Bingle community centers, to any community center that we have out there, senior centers. Every one of those has this state language in it that says the legislator may choose to not appropriate the appropriation referred to in Article 1. The department shall terminate the agreement for non-appropriation by giving the grantee written notice of termination. So at any time, the state can write to you, even if you started construction, you think you have a grant agreement, and say, you're terminated, we're not going to give you your money. So much for it says, grantee hereby waives any rights to assert an impairment or contract claim against the Department of State of New Mexico. So every project that we have that has state grant funding on it is subject to as heavy, if not heavier, risk than the grant that we have from Small Starts. So reluctantly, we've looked at what the counselors wanted to when we were interviewed in the paper about what other funding could possibly be out there. And again, we are not proposing that, one, we need to do this, or two, that we would use these. It's a highly unlikely event. What we have as other funding options is other FTA money that is currently assigned to our region where grant agreements are in place. Right now, we have $5.8 million in the books. In the next fiscal federal year that we don't have a grant agreements for, but they're coming, is $11.4 million and $15.4 million in FY17. So what you could always do is go back to the feds, and if you're not going to get your $69 million grant, you could put together the other federal money that's come to your region and use that for the project. Again, this is not going to happen. It's never happened and it won't happen. It would take an historical event for this to happen. I think that's the meat of what you want to talk about tonight, but I did want to include the other pieces that were in the bill. Parking was in there. We've submitted the parking plans. Has a little card each parking spot, so you can count the cars so you know where everyone's parking based on a 22-foot parking area. The project will add 50 parking spaces along the corridor, and we broke it down by segment. In Old Town to downtown, there's 132 existing. That was a little tough to do. It's a striped buffer lane that people could park in. They were not parking in there as part of the pilot project to narrow the lanes. It wasn't metered, but we counted them just to be transparent in the numbers. If you park a car every 22 feet in those striped lanes, you could have 132 of them. When we're done, there'll be 52 permanent marked parking spaces with parking meters on them. From downtown to the interstate, there's 37 existing. We're going to actually build 46, so there'll be a net increase. Between the interstate, including Nob Hill, there's 290 existing. There'll be 314 when we're done. And then east of Nob Hill, there's 10 existing, and we're going to be building 107. 99 of those will be in a park and ride at Expo, New Mexico. Then the Central Business Advisory Board, that was section 2 of the resolution. As of now, we do not have representatives on that board yet to be able to convene that committee, but we're still anxiously awaiting potential appointees. So with that, I'll stand for questions. I know it's a lot of information in a quick time, but I think I was only given 5 minutes. So.
Will Councilor Gibson first.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. Riordan, my question is about the operating costs. I don't know if it was DMV or Transit, one of the departments quoted an annual operating cost of about $2 million, and this was, long before, we chose the electric buses, which I'm assuming electric buses are still on. We're still going to be using electric buses, correct?
Mr. President and Council, yes, we have a contract ready to sign with the electric bus company.
Okay. It was my understanding that the maintenance on electric buses is substantially less than gas or diesel powered buses. So I'm wondering why the operating cost now is higher.
What I can say is the $2 million was for 3 additional vehicles, the longer routes. What we did add is 10 security officers and 2 maintenance workers, specifically for the route, not for the rolling stock, but for maintenance of the stops and security of the stops and the route itself. So that added about $980,000, but then because of electric buses, that saved us $722,000. So that's why we're still in the $2.2 million range. But we did add a significant amount of security and maintenance staff.
Okay, so that original $2 million figure didn't include any security or the maintenance on the ART bus.
I personally was not around for the conversation, so I'm not sure. I just know the 3 additional vehicles and the routes themselves, so the actual number for just the route itself was $2 million on our sheet here. So I'm assuming that's what that was first referred to as $2 million.
All right, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Riordan, you said that historically this has never happened, and I'm optimistic that it will not happen, but in the case that it does happen, for some reason the Congress does not come through with this money, which we know we've got a letter of no prejudice for $15 million. We don't know that they're going to give us the additional $19 million. What is the contingency plan that we have in place? Because I didn't see that in the EC that was brought forth to this council.
In the EC, in the formal document that we submitted, we're sticking to our historically this has never happened, and to create a cause of concern that it would by suggesting that we need other funds from other places is we just didn't feel that was responsible to do by throwing out potential ones to you, because depending on when and where this money comes in and out, there's millions of different scenarios where you'd have to have a contingency plan for. What I can say is what our plan is that we've got the ability to explore multiple options, and we've got the agility to find out different funding sources. The ones that are currently available now in areas that we would look first look is other federal FTA monies. Because 1, they're already in our region, 2, they're already assigned to ADP RIDE, and they could be easily applied to this project. So that's what this list was here. It's not formally in the EC, but this is, as for a discussion, simply a discussion, this would be where some money could come from.
And also, I know we've got some problems, as you explained, with the CMAQ money. That could be problematic because the state is out of money, and they need some money back. The federal government is got less revenues also that they're receiving. So I just think that there's concern among this community and among especially the businesses along the corridor to assure the businesses and the community that this project will get done. And we're not going to cut back on the project because we don't have the additional $19 million and we can get to 50. But I did talk to Congresswoman Riordan, and she assured me that she felt the money would be coming in, that we would get at least the $50 million. But I would hope that we would have some plan in place to deal with that $19 million, because there's no guarantees we are going to get that $19 million. And the public needs to be aware that we may need to go out and sell additional bonds, and we may need to dip into the capital budget to get this project completed. But there should be some information out to the public with some of these scenarios that may take place if we do not get this additional money. So I think it's important that we are as transparent as we possibly can be. And I want to thank you and Bruce Rosieri and the team for your work, because it's been a tough one. This art project has been controversial. There's a lot of people that are adamantly opposed to it. We now have the construction underway, and it has had some impacts on the business community, but we need to work as closely as we can with that business community to make sure that we do as little harm as possible to help the businesses.
Mr. President, Councilor Sanchez, one, thank you for all your support and help, and specifically with the constituent calls that I know you receive and we're able to try to help out with. Again, the first place that we would look to for $19 million, if for some reason in an historical event that happened, would be other FTA funds. So we, as administration, we would not want to go into local funds or cent funds. We would first look to FTA, the money that's already appropriated to our region, and specific to ADP RIDE. That would be our first priority.
Well, the matter here that would be the federal dollars and not taken away from local projects, because we only bond for $119 million, and that's every 2 years, with needs of over $1 billion.
Councilor Pena.
Hello, Mr. Riordan.
Hello, Councilor.
I've gotten several calls from you lately. I want to thank you for, just being so patient when I call you kind of frantic in terms of some of the concerns that I'm getting from the business owners. and Mr. Rosari and some of the staff who are being, going out there and addressing some of these concerns. But as you know, there's a lot of businesses, especially on West Central, who are being impacted pretty harsh. And I just hope that in some of your discussions and some of the planning, I know we're going to have a meeting with, I think, some people from Transit to go out there and try to, you know, encourage people to go out to West Central and do some of the little things that they're doing. But really, you know, if there's any dollars there to really encourage people to come west of the river, because these businesses are businesses, and I've said this before, these are businesses that were around when nobody wanted to be on West Central. They've been there 40+ years. And, you know, I just feel that, you know, I don't want to turn a blind eye to these businesses that are suffering and really need the support of the city, especially knowing that they're the ones that were contributing and helping out with our GRT over all these years, and really have turned into some major businesses in the city of Albuquerque, Blake's, you know, these are businesses that a lot of them started out of the South Valley and have grown to be really large businesses. But anyway, I just kind of want to reiterate that I am still very concerned, the fact that these businesses are losing, you know, without saying which ones and how much, they're losing lots of business. So be creative, do something. I know there's some of these things that you're doing, but I really am afraid of what's happening on West Central. So thank you, Mike.
Mr. President, Council Mayor, if I could just, we are looking forward to the opportunity to have our feet on the street out on the west side. We wanted to have the very first one at Sharky's, and because of the court case, it got delayed, so we couldn't do it out there, but we'd love to be able to go out there. And then if we do have businesses sign up to the 66 Reasons to Love Route 66, that allows us to help them market with having billboards or different tweet options or social media options. And at least twice a week, and sometimes 3 times a week, I know me and our staff are concentrating specifically on Central Ave to have a meal or for visiting a restaurant or a shop. And we encourage all of Albuquerque to, even if you went in the past, please visit Central Avenue. Help your fellow citizens through this construction project. There's at least one lane open each direction. There's access to every business. You can get there. I promise you can get there. Please do.
Mr. President, Mr. Riordan, thank you. And I just wanted to say is just to make sure that when people are communicating with some of these businesses, that, you know, you have a central number that everyone can call for an answer, because sometimes it appears that one hand's not talking to the other in terms of whether it's a contractor, whether it's a city of Albuquerque, whether it's a water authority, and it makes it a real headache for lots of these businesses. So, and again, thanks for all your work, even though I'm giving you a hard time.
Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to add that I've driven Central now. See, Friday, this past Friday, it was about the last 2 Fridays, and they were both about the same time, sometime between 6:30 and 7. And you know what? I really didn't have much problem. In fact, I was west of Central in one of those trips, and it slowed down, it backed up, but then it cleared, and I was on my merry way. It went much more smoothly than what I expected. So thank you for that.
Mr. President, Council Gibson, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks for the report, Mr. Riordan. I also just wanted to report on my conversations with federal congressional delegation, in this case Senator Heinrich, who also assured me that these funds are secure and that we can expect them to come. I know there was some discussion, maybe you want to elucidate about this a little bit, Mr. Riordan, that there was a possibility that depending on how the feds are doing their magic, that there's a possibility that they would approve $50 million this year and $50 million in a subsequent year. Is that still the case?
Mr. President, Councilman, I wish it was 50 in both years, but they said 50 this year at a minimum and 19 next year. So the project, since it spans 2 federal years, we could still have the full funding, but it would just be over 2 years, which is again very common in transit projects. There's one, I forgot the community, it's a $1 billion project that's getting $250 million a year for a number of years. So.
And Mr. President, with regard to the construction, you know, one thing I noticed when we were rebuilding the Big I, for instance, you know, that it's kind of funny that that drivers really become more like when we're all kind of in it together. We're working through any big project, any big road construction project is misery during the time. And, but that I saw that there was a real politeness in letting the next person in and merging and just doing the simple things that help everybody get along their way. And I think I've noticed that in this project so far. But the point is that any big road construction project, especially this one where we've got infrastructure that's, I don't know, in some cases, what, 60 years old or more underneath the street in some cases, that, yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult time for any such large project. But I think it's important to recognize that that's the case. And I did want to ask one thing about the parking. We're using a 22-foot length calculation for the parking space. Is that different than, is that the same length that we've been using since back in the 80s or something like that?
Mr. President, Council Ben, that is the standard for parallel parking within all of the regulations and guidelines that use for on-street, 8-foot wide parallel parking is typically 22 feet. That allows room to back in and back out, so it's longer than just an average vehicle. So you have to have some room to maneuver.
And I think it's important to note about the security officers. You know, oftentimes people are really concerned about the project, say, you know, I don't like the way the buses are now. But this is going to add to capacity of transit security, and I think there's always been a support on this council for that, and will continue to be going forward to continue to make our transit security more robust. Certainly a big concern of mine, and I think that will continue to be. We'll continue to have that support here on the council for that. So, thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Real quickly, we are also putting in new water and sewer lines with the water authority, and those lines are 50 to 70 years old, so that's going to be a real asset to that corridor. And also, Mike, last week you told me that you were going to go out and try to get more left-hand turning lanes during the construction project, and you were going to treat your staff to breakfast. I upped the ante, and I said I would also treat them to lunch. So we have any luck on that?
Mr. President, Councilor Sanchez, they haven't earned their keep yet for breakfast, but I know they are working hard, and a lot of the paving that's going on now, we're concentrating in Old Town and Nob Hill for the shopping moratorium. We're going to be able to do that on the outside sections too. So as soon as those lanes are paved in the middle, there'll be a significant amount of left turns.
Great.
Well, that'll conclude our presentations, and we'll actually go now to item 4 is an economic development discussion. I'm excited about this. Stuart Rose and Lisa Atkins are here regarding that item. Looking forward to their presentation. Welcome, Ms. Atkins.
President Lewis and councilors, thank you so much for having us back